But let's get to these Bellator cards because they have 2 full cards this weekend. First one this Friday, tomorrow, on DAZN / Paramount Network. Matt Mitrione versus Sergey Kharitonov. And what else on the card as I'm scrolling down? Logan Sterling, a real amazing prospect right now. I definitely want to watch him if you're listening and you don't know who these guys are. Watch Logan Sterling. Fantastic collegiate wrestler, now undefeated MMA prospect. 9-0. They've been building up real top rank. So Fu, you're gonna love that. Give him like 9 nobodies to really start it off.
Just smash them.
yeah, that's how you do it. Also, Paige Van Zandt's husband, Austin Vanderford, also on this card. For any of those that care, I don't. Eduardo Dantes on the card, former Bellator bantamweight champion. I like to see him fight. Always a fun fighter. So shout out to him. But the main event, Matt Mitrione versus Sergey Kharitonov. Matt Mitrione should win this one via knockout. First round. This should be quintessential heavyweight MMA of a really basic but big, fast heavyweight beating a old, faded, much better technical heavyweight. That's sort of my perception on this fight. And this card, which really is not that great, and reminds me of why does Bellator keep doing this, where they put 2 different cards on the same weekend when one of the cards is severely, severely weak, because this card is weak. And they could just put all of this on one card and consolidate their financial sort of expenditures. But Fu, your thoughts on Bellator 215, the whole card, top to bottom, all that stuff. I know you want to talk about like maybe Amanda Bell versus Amber Lebrook, the fight of Ambers.
Who the fuck is that girl? No, I'm just playing.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
No, I think Mitrione, right? You're right. Mitrione is. It just looks like one of the fights where they're just gonna throw him in there with an old dog and let him kind of look good and get some kind of name recognition, right? So, I mean, this card to me was maybe a little boring. I don't want to shit on it. I mean, all these. No,
this card is not good. No, this card's not good. Like I'll be honest, I'm gonna watch for the. This is gonna be on background Friday night. I'll be doing 2 other things, but this will be on background. And when Logan Sterling is up, I'm gonna watch. When Eduardo Dantes is up, I'm gonna watch. When in the main event, I watch for Matt Mitrione to get the knockout, because I do like watching Matt Mitrione fight. But I mean, it's pretty clear that this is a bad card. Like this has been sort of a debate, so to speak, in the MMA community: is which card's better this weekend, right? Is it the Bellator card or is it the UFC card? Even a good friend of the show, Jason Burgos of Sherdog, who's a kind of a Bellator fanboy. I will give him that. Like, he's a guy that always interviews the Bellator guys, so I think he has an affinity for it. No shots at you, Jason, but that's how I see it. He was saying like, "Oh, Bellator cards far better." I'm like, no, Bellator cards not better. Now, had they somehow combined it, Matt Mitrione's also on the MVP Daley card, which we're going to get to. Logan Sterling is on the undercard, not a co-main event. You sort of piece it together where it's now a full-fledged top-to-bottom card. Maybe we have that discussion then. But let's get to the Bellator 216 card, MVP versus Paul Daley card, or I should say main event, like I said, which seems to be the people's main event in MMA, because MVP has been talked about for so long, it seems, and now this is that fight. This is the fight to determine what do we have with MVP and Paul Daley. Do we have, or I should say MVP specifically, do we have a rising transcendental potential star, creative genius in the cage, or do we have a pretender that's been masquerading, beating up old guys and guys that don't belong in the cage, and now he faces a legit top 30 guy, perennial top 15, 20 guy in the division that is credentialed, talented, and we're going to see the levels displayed. Fu, I want to get your thoughts on this main event in particular, and again, more from a general aspect before we get to the technical matchup. How hyped are you for MVP Paul Daley? Has this hardcore fight reached your casual ears, and are you now hyped for it?
Well, you kind of put me on Michael Venom Page, just when we were first talking boxing, because you know he does both. So I watched a bunch of his stuff, and he's just such a showman. It's really fun to watch him in the ring. Paul Daley seems a little bit more reserved, you know, a little bit more serious. I don't know if it's serious, but just more like stoic.
Well, it's funny because like Paul Daley was like the MVP before MVP. Like he was the loudmouth Brit. Like he was the first guy that did that. Like he was like 2007-ish, right? You had Michael Bisping and Paul Daley. Like those were the two Brits. They were loudmouth. They were brash. They talked a bunch of shit. Like Paul Daley got fired from the UFC and was never allowed back because he punched I think a fighter or a ref after a fight. It was Josh Koscheck because Josh Koscheck was mouthing off and out-wrestled him for 3 rounds. So Paul Daley got up, whacked him. Never came back to the UFC and went on to Strikeforce, had the Nick Diaz rivalry. I don't know if you've seen that fight, Fu. You have? Oh my God, Fu.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
Fu, you haven't seen?
No.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's like talking to a casual. It's okay. Like there's importance here. Hardcores out there, like these are the people we have to reach out to, and tell them the history of this sport, because he doesn't know Nick Diaz, Paul Daley, and the most epic 1-round fight of all time. Okay, I'll send you links after the show. Don't worry, but
send me links.
I just need to calm down from that. The fact that you don't know.
Send me location.
Like that. I'm not gonna say that single-handedly like created the Nick Diaz myth, because that's just a real gross hyperbolic statement. Like if anything did, it's probably more the Takanori Gomi and Robbie Lawler knockouts. But digressing.
You're such a stan.
Oh, I am. But digressing. Paul Daley, he's stoic in this one, I think, in comparison. And I think he wants to play that role as the elder statesman now. Like that, he understands that's his role in this matchup. Like WWE antics. Like Michael Venom Page is going to be the one that's going to be loud and it's going to be in your face. You don't need to be that. He is going to be that. So you have to be something different. You have to be the foil to that. Be the old stoic veteran. I think that's what he's trying to do.
Gotcha.
But anyways, digressing. Back to your points, because I think I rudely cut you off and went on this tangent.
No, that's fine.
MVP, Daley, your overall thoughts in this fight sort of intriguing you in any way?
It definitely intrigues me, because I think I think Michael Venom Page is one of those. Well, he's like an Adesanya, you know. He's very entertaining. He's got a lot of charisma. He does like super crazy shit after fights, like throw Pokemon balls at people, and you know. So to me, that's hilarious. Like he's a true showman, you know. And so I think, are we doing our pick, or you just want to talk about the fight?
I mean, you can make your pick. You can do whatever you want, Phil.
I mean, I'm gonna pick him over Daley. Yeah. So I don't really feel comfortable saying knockout, but I think that I think that he'd win a pretty easy decision against Daley. He's very, very good. But he's also, watching his fights, not always defensively responsible.
Really? You don't say.
So maybe.
Who knows? Hey, Fu, let me tell you this. Prince Nassim wasn't always defensively responsible. Didn't know if you knew that.
But
Anderson Silva, not always defensively responsible. I don't know if you knew that. Israel Adesanya, not always defensively responsible. But anyways, that's just to make jokes, because that phrasing was hilarious. Michael Venom Page should win this fight. I'm making jokes, but I'm in agreement with you. I think this is sort of a change in the guards fight in a lot of ways for UK MMA. Michael Venom Page, not only I think is obviously the better striker of the two, because he vastly is, but he's also far bigger. Like he's taller, rangier by a significant amount. Like he's nearly like 4 or 5 inches taller than Paul Daley. Like he's nearly half a foot bigger than this guy.
Daley also looks beaten just in the way he's dealing with Venom Page. You know? he won't even look at him or like face off or anything. Like he's really being, I don't know, just kind of a bitch in this whole thing, sort of, you know?
Foo. Yogi, I do have to get that soundbite. You're absolutely right about that. Foo, say in the chat when
How
you're on the
convenient
show.
is that? What is that?
You don't know. You don't. Never mind. I'll get the soundbite, Yogi. Don't worry about that. Foo saying chat. What is wrong with the phrase defensively responsible? You know, you could just say it on the air. And it's not that the phrase is wrong. It's that it's Captain Obvious. It's like, yeah, we know that. Like it.
Not to an MMA casual. It's not.
You watch one highlight reel of Michael Venom Page, you know that this guy doesn't have a high guard and is deflecting and parrying shots. You know, he's not trying to look like Canelo out there defensively. Prince Nassim, Anderson Silva is what he's trying to go for. Roy Jones Jr. even, in a way. But even then, I would say Roy Jones far more defensively responsible than Michael Venom Page. But again, Page should win this one. I think he's the better striker of the two. I think Daley doesn't really use his wrestling to his advantage. In this fight, he would need to. On top of that, it's a 5-round fight. I think we're going to see Venom Page get into cruise control and start picking him apart. And third or fourth round, I think he's going to get him out of there. I don't think he goes the full 5. I don't see that happening. But I do see Page being relaxed in there, being composed, and also understanding, hey, I got time on the clock. Like, I'm just keep jabbing him. I'm going to keep kicking him with the leg. I'm going to keep picking him apart until I'm done with him. I see that really shaping up. I see the fight shaping up in that manner. Moving on, Vitaly Minikov versus Czech Congo. Vitaly Minikov, once upon a time, being one of the biggest heavyweight prospects in the sport. Bellator champion, etc. And then obviously he had the 2-year layoff due to contract dispute, so to speak, because he left Bellator, went to a Russian fighting league for a huge mega deal. Now he's back, and speaking of all that, it looks like, not that, wrong news, people. Sorry about that. This is the news I wanted to show you. It looks like the former Russian manager to Vitaly Minikov is now suing Vitaly Minikov and Ali Abdelaziz. Hashtag where's Noah. Also, Minikov and obviously Czech Congo have fought before. One of the last fights Minikov actually went to decision. I think it is the last fight he went to the decision with. I think Minikov should win this one, even with the 2-year layoff. I think he's a highly, highly skilled talent. Like a guy that if he's in the UFC, he could be doing something. But obviously he's dealing with legal issues now. He's dealing with managerial issues. And Ali Abdelaziz is not like the most trustworthy guy to be around now also. So God knows what's next for Minikov. But in terms of this fight, he should win this one rather easily. He's the better wrestler, better striker of the two. And Czech Congo is a faded, boring, nut-kicking version of himself. So I don't want to see this rematch to begin with, but we have it. Your thoughts on Vitaly Minikov coming back and fighting Czech Congo in a rematch? Foo?
Minikov will win this, I'm pretty sure. Both of them have a good, I think Congo's on a 7 or 8 win streak. Minikov is obviously undefeated. So I think Minikov will win. Congo is a name I know. So I know he's an older UFC guy, right? He's been around a while. So
guy has like 50 plus fights, man.
Yeah. So I knew immediately when you sent me this card and I saw Czech Congo, I was like, I know that name, which means he's been fairly big at one point and a while back. So
damn, Czech Congo, this guy's crazy, man. Like the lot, he's like a fucking cat, man. He has 9 lives. He's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fight win streak. Has not lost since February of 2015. He hasn't lost in 4 fucking years, man. I don't know how to deal with that information. Like, how is that possible? And like he beat Alexander Volkov like in that time span. Alexander Volkov like is doing really good over in the UFC right now. It's crazy, man. Check Congo. How the fuck is he still relevant?
I don't know. That was what was tough about this, because you look at, they're both fighting at a very high level. So, but like you said, even with both of them at a high level, say 5 years ago, it went to decision, and Congo was beaten. So, even with the layoff, I still think Congo's not coming out ahead on this one.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a good fight.
Yeah, I think it should be fun, especially I think Minikov is a fun fighter. Like, Cheick Kongo, not a fun fighter. Minikov, a fun fighter. So hopefully we get more of that than Cheick Kongo's usual, again, nut-kicking self, because, God, there must be a record for, like, most groin shots done in the MMA fight. Cheick Kongo is the leader of that. He has done more groin shots than anyone in MMA history. I'm not sure if that's true, but it's probably true. Roy Nelson versus Mirko Krokop. One of those fights where I'm like, if this was 10 years ago, maybe Jason would have an argument for this card being the better card of the weekend. But it's not. 2019, we really don't need to see this fight at heavyweight or any weight, really. Who am I going to pick? I'm going to pick Mirko Krokop because Roy Nelson has looked like such garbage as of late. And Mirko's taking some good steroids, probably, in my opinion. So that's how I'm leaning. That's really all I have for this fight. Again, one of those fights 10 years ago I would be hyped for because it is a rematch of their fight from about 10 years ago, which was a fun fight. This one, not so much. Don't care about it. Fu, your thoughts on it?
I'm going with a heart pick. I'm going with Nelson.
God.
I like him. I think he's, I don't know. I like Nelson. Vicious KO. No, I'm just playing. I don't really know how it'll end, but
this fight's
going to be a huge scrap.
Oh no, this fight's gonna be the full distance, all 3 rounds, and it's gonna be very, very bad.
Just a lot of like heavy breathing.
A lot of heavy breathing, like a lot of leaning on each other. This is like, there's no way this is good. Like, the only way it's good is if it ends within 60 seconds. If it's outside 60 seconds, oh my God, people, watch out. Eric Silva versus Yaroslav Amosov. Amosov being undefeated. Mainly why I'm picking Amosov because Eric Silva has been irrelevant for years now, and he was once a great prospect out of Brazil. Not so much 2019. I'm picking the Russian prospect who I haven't really seen before because he's undefeated, and Russians kick ass because that's what usually happens. Your thoughts on this fight, or you have no thoughts on this fight?
I have no thoughts on this fight.
Okay. Last fight on the card, and last fight we're going to talk about of the night. Then we'll get to some news, a little bit of news, and then head out or call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. If you want international, add Mixed Combat Radio on Skype. If you want to call in and get your predictions and preview live on the show. Last fight we're going to talk about Valerie Loretta, who is a Bellator MMA debut, a karate, or actually a taekwondo Olympic. I think she has a medal. I just forget exactly what medal it is. I think it was silver.
I'll find out.
Yeah,
she's kind of a phenom, right?
Yeah, definite phenom, and obviously quite attractive. Huge social media following, partially due to that, and her Olympic pedigree. Now making her MMA debut. I think she should win this one because she's fighting someone that's 1-2 I've never heard of, so that's why I'm picking her. But somebody just to keep an eye out because, God knows if 5 years down the line she's the next Ronda Rousey. Who knows? I think MMA is in the search of the next female star because right now there really isn't that superstar in the female class right now. Maybe Valerie Loredo is. Fu, did you find the information, or are you
pulling it up right now?
Oh, damn! Still taking all this time. Watch. I start clicking some buttons, and I beat you to it.
Possibly. Wiki page.
Well, you want to talk about this fight as I look it up since you're not looking it up?
Well, she's obviously being put into this fight to just really look good. So it's mostly, I think, a showcase. So I think she'll win it easily. Because I don't think Bellator brought her in to throw her into the wolves and have her look bad right off, So I think they're going to give her some really easy fights so that she can build that following like she's done on, like you said, she's huge on Instagram for obvious reasons. And I think Bellator is investing in her, just like you said, hoping that she's the next big MMA star for women. Well, men too. I mean, it's not like men didn't like watching Rousey, but dude, I cannot find. I know that it said when she was like 14 that she was training for the Olympics, but had some family issues and couldn't go in.
I don't think she medaled.
Yeah.
Anyways, digressing. That is it for the fights this weekend. Let's get to some of the news of the day.